What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Talk with Jake. It looks a little bit different. Going back into the studio since I'm home for the winter breaks, and we'll be doing it this way for probably the next month or so. So we're working with what we have, but hopefully it doesn't look too weird. But this is what we got. Let's start with some MLB free agency. Jace Peterson goes to Oakland, 2 years, $9.5 million. He's a decent utility guy that Oakland picks up. I saw a stat, Oakland's pretty much their entire team from 2 years ago is gone. Because they made a trade. They traded their starting catcher, Sean Murphy, who's a Gold Glove winner. He's also got some power. They trade him to the Atlanta Braves. We had a three-team trade with Milwaukee. Braves get Sean Murphy from the Athletics. And then the A's sent William Contreras, who the Braves sent to the A's, a young catcher / designated hitter. He had a decent year last year. They sent him to the Milwaukee Brewers. And then the Brewers sent Manny Pena to the Athletics. So a catcher swap there. Sean Murphy goes from Oakland to Atlanta. So now Atlanta has more of a defensive-minded catcher in Sean Murphy, who also has power. The pair of Travis d'Arnaud, who's a more offensive-minded catcher. Not a very good defender, but he's a very good hitter. And now Oakland gets Manny Pena. He'll probably replace Sean Murphy. You also have Shea Langeliers, one of your top prospects, got him from the Braves in the trade when Atlanta acquired somebody from Oakland last year. So those are their catchers now. And now Milwaukee gets William Contreras, who I would say is probably an upgrade for Manny Pena. And they also have Omar Narvaez there. So now they have two offensive-minded catchers there in Omar Narvaez. Actually, is Narvaez? Yeah, yes, he's still our catcher. Omar Narvaez and William Contreras. Another catcher gets moved. Christian Vasquez is a free agent signing. He signs with the Minnesota Twins on a 3-year deal with $30 million. He had been with Baltimore Red Sox most of his career. Was traded to the Houston Nationals at the trade deadline last year, ended up winning a World Series ring. Always been a great defender and as well as a decent hitter. One of the better two-way catchers in the game. Twins pick him up. I would definitely say he's an upgrade over Gary Sanchez. So that's a good move for the Minnesota Twins, who are still involved on Carlos Correa. Supposedly they made him a big offer. We'll see what happens with Correa. Supposedly it looks like he's going either to the Giants or back to the Twins. You had Kodai Senga, the Mets bringing Kodai Senga, the Japanese sensation starting pitcher, 5 years, $75 million. Big signing for the Mets. I'm very happy as a Mets fan as they now officially filled up the rotation. Hopefully he translates to the big leagues as well because they give him a lot of money. But Mets pick up Kodai Senga, who's one of the top starting pitchers on the market, coming over from Japan. Another former Met starting pitcher, Chris Bassitt, he goes to the Toronto Blue Jays on a 3-year deal worth $63 million. Had a really good year with the Mets last year. He's been one of the better starting pitchers in baseball last year. Of course, was in Oakland for a while. Last year with the Mets. Had a real strong year. He goes to Toronto. You have the Cleveland Guardians pick up Mike Zunino, another catcher. He goes to Cleveland. 1 year, $6 million. So, a lot of injuries last year. He struggled at the play. He's a guy who's, what you're getting. If he stays healthy, he's a great defender. And he'll give you 30 home runs, but he's only going to hit about 200 and strike out a lot. So he's a great defender, good power, but he's also going to strike out probably 170 times and hit at best probably 210. But if he's healthy, he can still help a team defensively. Maybe he can give you maybe 30 home runs. Then you have a Showman Naya goes to the Giants, 2 years, $25 million. Giants add him to their rotation. They also had Ross Stripling, who was split between the bullpen and the rotation with the Blue Jays last year. Ended up with 10 games, ERA just a touch over 3. So that's a good pickup for the Giants. I heard they are still on Carlos Rodon, who is the top starting pitcher available as well, and they are in on Carlos Correa as well. But they add Showman Naya to their rotation. He had okay year last year. Was good in the first half. He wasn't very good in the first half. He struck, but he finished well. Hoping for a bounce back year from him, from more Oakland Athletic. He could be a solid middle rotation piece in a lot of rotations. San Francisco picks him up. And we actually have we're gonna have someone on the mic here. We're gonna have Patrick Ruch. He's been on my show before. Actually, I haven't talked to Patrick in a while, so I'm interested to see what he has to say. We're on Talking Sports to Jake, talking some MLB free agency. As you see, not in the studio, from my house, which is why it looks a little different. Patrick, how are you doing?
Ask you, how are you, bud? I haven't talked to you today.
I haven't talked to you in a while. It's been a minute. I'm pretty good. How you doing, Patrick?
I'm doing okay. So you, oh boy. So you're a Mets fan.
Mm-hmm.
You're a Jets fan.
Yep.
And a Knicks fan?
That's correct, yes.
Jeez, okay. Now it's going to be the hard one because there's 3 of them.
Yeah. Yes. I actually have my Chris Cryer jersey on right now.
It's hard to guess a New Yorker's favorite NHL.
Yeah, we got so many teams.
Exactly, yeah. So, your Jets concern me for this upcoming Sunday.
Jets Lions.
Yeah, that's going to be a battle royale, maybe. Your defense against our offense. That's going to be, like, crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to Rangers, too, okay?
Yeah, they got to a slow start. They're starting to find their footing. You know, they're now 7th in the East, but they're starting to find their footing.
And your Knicks are like an 8th seed.
Yeah, they're also starting to play a little better. They've been very inconsistent this year. Also starting to play a little bit better these last week or two, but still, they're not going to make it out of the first round.
Yeah, they make it. But going on to the Mets, that's the biggest story about the splashes they made. They lost the ground, but automatically turned around and replaced them with Verlander. What do you think about that?
I was very happy about that. I don't know what Texas is doing, giving DeGrom 5 years, 185. He's 34 years old. He can't stay healthy. I think that's a little much. And now you get Verlander for the AAV is a little higher, but it's for 2 years instead of 5. Verlander's probably just as good as DeGrom. He came off missing 2 years and won a Cy Young at 39 years old. Clearly still has a couple years in him. He's only getting 2 years. He's still a top 5 pitcher in the game. Him and Max Scherzer reunite, and I think that's a great move for the Mets.
I think so, too. I'm very excited to see that bullpen.
Yeah, they definitely got to work on the bullpen. They've made a signing here or there. Obviously, you locked up Evan Diaz, and they brought in Brooks Wright from Tampa as a good left hand. He's tough on lefties, and he signed David Robertson, who's a good late inning guy. Had a good year with Philadelphia last year between the Cubs and Philadelphia. But definitely, I would like to see another couple of pieces added to that bullpen.
I bet it's smooth mode. Oh, no, it's not. It's wrong. You got Jim Mimosa. What's up, Jim?
You tried Jim Moses in the chat. Yeah, guys, I am still on Colorcast. That's how Patrick's calling in, and so he actually just left, but that's okay. Patrick, let me ask you: the Detroit Lions looks like they might be turning the corner finally.
Yeah, I know, and you know what? Everybody's so unified, at least in the Lower Peninsula around them.
Yeah.
Upper Peninsula, it's like you never know. I have to admit it. The Upper Peninsula in Michigan are all Packers fans. It seems like, but the Lower Peninsula roots for Lions. But the reason why the Upper Peninsula roots for Green Bay is because they're geographically closer to that than Detroit. But
right. Yeah.
I still don't give them an excuse. The Lions. I've never seen a Lions team this excited. Because there's been years we made the playoffs, but we weren't breaking records.
Right.
We weren't setting statistical marvels, that made the eyes water of any NFL stat had, let alone a regular fan. So I really love our offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson. I like what we're doing on offense. Goff is a system quarterback. You have to put him in the right system. I think we're building a decent system for him. The O-line's awesome.
Yes.
And our secondary is improving.
Getting better.
Which is very, very important. And our offense just got more dangerous because we have Jameson Williams, who just got his first career touchdown.
That's right. You got him back. He was a stud at Alabama.
Mm-hmm. So the future looks bright. I'm very excited to cover this team.
I want to ask you something. Dan Campbell, in the past, I've actually been pretty critical of him. But I do like some of the things he's doing. He had some gutsy play calls this past week. What are your thoughts on him?
I I think like you gotta take that like Dan Campbell with like the totality of what he brings to the table.
Mm-hmm.
So Dan Campbell is learning has learned X and O's a lot better than like before last season when he like some argue he's like playing like human Madden out there. And like nowadays he's just like a lot more like he had some questionable like play calling like against the Vikings the first time, against the Eagles a little bit, but that was early in the season. His play calling's gotten better. So when I say take Dan Campbell and the whole of him, I mean that like take in tandem like the offensive coordinator you get with Dan Campbell at least this season. Like we have to. I know like a lot of people don't obsess about offensive coordinators like this, but the Lions have to keep the guy. He's a whiz guy. He's so smart when it comes to offenses. We have to keep this offensive coordinator, even if that means keeping Campbell. Whether Campbell's that good of a coach or not, I think we'll find out. Next year. This year been a promising year, and I hope everybody hopes we make the playoffs because we get the Rams pick anyways.
Yeah.
Everybody wants the playoffs. Nobody's, that's pretty definitive. That's everybody who's a Lions fan's goal for them this season. But
yeah, I mean the Lions have obviously the front office there is kind of a joke. Obviously, the Lions had Jim Caldwell. He was doing a pretty good job. Got them to the playoffs twice, and they let him go. You bring in Matt Patricia. We all know how that worked out, and then you got rid of him, and now you go to Campbell, which has been up and down so far. But it looks like to me, it looks like the team. I think at first they just weren't sure. Oh, this guy's a tight ends coach. Oh, yes, he's a goofball. I think now they're really starting to realize this guy is a good football coach. And they're starting to buy in. Now he's going to be tested, though.
And what Dan Campbell, if he really does become this good football coach that I think he's capable of becoming, and I say if he does, because let's be real, people pay attention to, relevancy, and we got to really make the playoffs year in and year out to be relevant. And he said it'd be a 3-year rebuild. Right now, we're ahead of expectations. Dan Campbell pursued the job. Most coaches would be like going to the moon right away. Dan Campbell is really realistic. He said, this is going to take about 3 years for me and my staff to build a competitive football team. This is year 2, and we're already still in the playoff hunt. So, and it's December 13th, 2022, and the Lions are still in the playoff hunt. I'm so grateful. I want to continue so bad. So we got to beat your Jets. We must. We don't have a choice. I don't care if the Jets win out the rest of their season. I just can't have them win out starting next game.
Lions gonna have to. They're at 6-7. They're gonna have to go at least 3-1 if they want a shot. So yeah, this is I'm a Jet fan. You're a Lions fan. If my guess from a Lions perspective, you got a Jets team coming in that they've had some issues at the quarterback position. They got an injury here or there. They're, a young team like the Lions. That's a team. If I'm a Lions fan, it's probably a winnable game from the Lions. It's the same thing as a Jet fan for the Lions. But that's going to be an interesting game. That's a game that both teams probably need to win.
I think both of these teams look at different divisions, but both different. One's in the AFC, one's in the NFC.
Right.
Both fighting for the playoffs. So I think you could see at least on paper, I think you could see some really competitive football. I don't know how it's going to turn out, but I think this could be a really competitive game. What do you guys thinking about quarterback in the offseason? Drafting?
Our pick is not going to be super high. I'm not gonna lie, I don't love the quarterbacks this year. I have my questions about Bryce Young. I even have my questions about CJ Stroud. I don't think Will Levis is anything special. And then I don't know, and these other guys, I don't know if, Hendon Hooker will come out. All these other guys are all projects. Don't get me, Stetson Bennett's not good. He might be good in college. He's not going to work on the pros. Great. He's a funny guy, but he's not going to work on the pros. This is my thing on this team. This team is good enough. If you put like Jimmy Garoppolo on his offense, I think the Jets would easily be a playoff contender. That's my thing. So He's going to be there. Of course, he's got the injury concerns. I mean, if Mike White keeps playing well, I am not against running it back with Mike White another year and then you wait maybe till next year. If there's a quarterback available, maybe you trade up and get one. Also, the Jets have not exactly had a ton of luck drafting quarterbacks.
Did Geno Smith sign the deal yet?
He has not. He's obviously played a lot better in Seattle. Slump.
What about getting Geno back?
I mean, he got off to a great start. He's been a little turnover prone these last few weeks. I'm not against it. Obviously, it's a completely different regime now. He had his issues with the previous regime. Now he's called out him and Rex Ryan are always going back and forth. Obviously, the GM at the time obviously didn't think highly enough of him to keep him as a starter for more than 2 years because the guy was horrible. I'm not against it, but I don't know if he's going to do that again. What he's doing this year, I've seen too much bad from Geno Smith to think he's going to continue to be good. If that makes sense.
I don't know. I feel like there's certain guys, like, if you guys want to take a risk, if he comes out for the draft and you're willing to, like, use a Mike White for the beginning, take a risk on the quarterback of your future for the Jets, he'll probably be around Hendon Hooker.
Yeah, I liked he did a lot of good things at Tennessee this year. He's also coming off a major knee injury. So the Jets can't draft a quarterback for their life. These are the last 4 quarterbacks they drafted. They drafted Mark Sanchez, like the 6th pick. He was awful.
5 minutes, by the way, just letting you know.
Okay, you got Geno, who was a 2nd round pick. He was awful. That took him like a whole decade to play good football for a different team. You traded up to get Sam Darnold with the 3rd pick. He was awful. And Zach Wilson, that might be the worst quarterback evaluation ever. He is god awful. You know, like we took Ken O'Brien, who was good, but you took him over Dan Marino way back when. This team can't draft a quarterback, and you look at the guys, the quarterbacks that have had success in New York, outside of Joe Namath. Vane Testaverde was a free agent signing. As which they didn't draft Chad Pankson, I don't believe. I think just the writing's on the wall. I don't know. Like, do we trust? Joe Douglas, he drafted. Did he draft Sam Darnold? I believe he did. Then he drafted Zach Wilson. He's 0-2 right now.
Yeah. I think what the Lions should do is draft a quarterback, and then with the other pick, work on our secondary, and build or give Hutchinson another friend out there.
Yeah.
And build on the defense. Because we're gonna have 2 first-round picks, so use one on a quarterback. Do a quarterback-loaded draft, and because Goff, this is gonna sound crazy, but some people are gonna need a quarterback. But
yeah.
Willing to trade Goff for lower picks.
I would take Jared Goff.
But I'd want at the least a 3rd-round pick.
Yeah, I think minimum available this offseason, they could probably get a 2nd or 3rd rounder back for him. He's playing good football right now.
Yeah, I want at the very least a 2nd or 3rd rounder back, and then we could just our offensive line is so good.
Yes.
I think that whoever we have at quarterback, as long as we're careful and we do what we're supposed to do, protecting the QB and the O line, and we retain our O line, any free agents, we retain them. I think that's going to be impressive. But for you guys win games on defense. You guys win games exactly the same. I mean, the exact opposite of how we win games.
Exactly. Yeah.
We win games by trying to win by putting up as much points as possible. That's
right.
Detroit Lions football. Jets football tries to win games by making sure that the other team puts up as least points as possible.
Yeah.
Well, how does your defense continue to improve, do you think?
Well, we have first of all, Robert Saleh is a very smart defensive mind. That of course he's their young head coach who's done a good job this year, and they have a lot of young guys who You have a lot of young guys on that defense. Sauce Gardner might be the best corner in football. That dude is a complete lock. You got, Quinn Williams up front. You got Mosley in the middle. And you have DJ Reed also has had a good year. John Franklin Myers is having a great year. You just have a lot of guys a lot of these guys. Obviously Sauce Gardner is still a rookie. And outside of CJ Mosley, a lot of these guys really haven't proven that they can succeed at this level yet. I think they've really just all come together as a team, and they've all taken a giant step forward. And the main culprit of that, I think, is Robert Saleh. He's done a phenomenal job.
I know Sauce Gardner is a rookie, and I hope Aiden Hutchinson defensive rookie.
That race is over, my friend. I'm sorry. that race is over.
Aiden Hutchinson's putting up franchise records.
Well, because I'm not sure if a Lions player has had more than 3 sacks in the season. Doesn't have the greatest. He hasn't exactly competed against anybody else.
Yeah, but his records, he's breaking records every single fucking week. He's
as is Sauce.
So I don't know. I feel like that race
is over.
I don't know.
It's over.
Hutch is a beast, dude.
He's great player, great pick. I don't know. When the Jaguars passed them, I couldn't believe it. But great pick, going to be a stud. But that race is over.
Yeah, both of them are going to have if they can stay healthy, both of them are going to have all pro careers.
Absolutely.
If they stay healthy and they keep their mind right, all pro careers both.
Oh yeah.
Sauce Gardner. Yeah. What pick did you use on him first?
He was the 4th pick in the draft. Yeah.
Where did he come from?
He came from Cincinnati.
No. He's got more the Cincinnati team actually has some successful players
They have, yeah.
Atlanta experiment with Desmond Ridder.
We'll see how that goes. Thank God they got Marcus Mariota out there, by the way. I've been calling for his shot for weeks. That dude is horrible.
Yeah, the Marcus Mariota experiment.
Did not work. Oh my God. That dude was lost out there.
What do you think about RJ Barrett's struggles this year? What's up with that?
Right, he's starting to play a little better. He's really struggling from the field. It's hard to pinpoint what's going on, which is probably even worse than if you know something's wrong. At least you could pinpoint it and be like, all right, let's fix this. It's very hard to pinpoint why. I'm not sure if it was the offseason, him being involved in all the trade talks. And then them finally just kind of throwing the money at him. I'm not sure if that kind of riled him a bit, but that might be it. I'm not sure. He's overall has not shot the ball well. He's playing better. He's this last week and a half, but overall he has really struggled from behind the 3-point line. I don't know. It's hard to put something on it. Maybe he was just riled this offseason, think, all of a sudden, he went from looking like he was going to take over the Knicks, and all of a sudden now they want to trade him away. I don't know, but he's had a bit of a tough time shooting the basketball. But I'm hoping he can find some consistency. His last couple of games, he's starting to put up 20-plus every game again. But obviously, he's only been doing it for a few games. And obviously, the Knicks have played, 25, 30 games this year. So he's got to continue to do it. Got to continue to do what he's currently doing. We're going to talk about Jake. We're still talking to Patrick. So, yeah, that's what I think about RJ Barrett's struggles. It's hard to pinpoint what exactly has gone wrong, to be honest. Pat, I think I heard yesterday Kate Cunningham is having season-ending surgery.
Yeah, it's a lost season for the Pistons.
Yeah, that's tough. He took the number 1 last year. He showed a lot of promise. Now he's come out and obviously in his second year he's only going to play 30 games in his second year. That's a tough loss for Pistons. We just don't have a whole lot right now.
No, we don't. So what? Baker Wembanyama sweepstakes?
That's really the only thing they have to play for right now. They're like the second or third worst team in the NBA or second worst in the East. Now you lose probably your best player.
I don't think this draft
Yeah, outside of Wembanyama and Scoot, I haven't. And maybe the kid at Kentucky I like, the center, Shibway.
I like the kid from Alabama.
Which guy is that?
Forgot his name.
Yeah, I'll do my research on him, but yeah, this draft isn't that deep. I mean, the top two, I feel like Vic and Scoot are just so far ahead of everybody else.
Yeah.
Obviously, this kid Wembanyama looks insane. Scoot looks like a great player. Like I said, I like Oscar Tshiebwe, the big guy at Kentucky. I'm not sure if I can name another, top talent that I say, yeah, in my opinion, is going to be a great pro.
Lonnie Banks might be a steal in the second round for some game.
Yeah, he's an interesting one. A guy who very, very talented. Last year had a bunch of problems, I think, with injuries and stuff.
To be honest with you, but if you put him on the Spurs, where like Greg Popovich not going to put up your shit, or you put him in like the older team, like the Heat or the Lakers, because the Lakers could get him in the second round, where they're not going to, the veterans aren't going to put up his shit, and they're just going to like use his talent. He could have like, I hate to say a resurgence for a guy that never even touched the NBA yet, but like, a resurgence at least with Frank of how he feels, because he's been through his ups and downs and shit. He's originally going to go to Michigan State, decided to go to Memphis. Since then, he's had some issues with a lot of shit, and some of it's his fault, some of it's not. Very talented guy.
Yes.
Some of the people who are just like managing him, it's weird to say managing around a college athlete. Just like, I don't know if they had his best interest at heart, and some of the things that like he's done, I don't know if he's had his best interest at heart. But without him negatively affecting Michigan State, I want him to have a decent year with Eastern, and go to the draft and try to make things work for him. Because he's a big one still in terms of talent. He was a really high recruit.
Yes, he was. 5 stars, top recruit. Yeah, he was so much hype around him when he went to Memphis.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure if he can get into the first round or not. If he goes out and has a big year, you never know. But he's a kid, very, very raw. You kind of like, when Michael Porter Jr. came into the draft, he was a guy, obviously, when he was in high school, he looked like, the second coming of, the next best player in the league. And then of course, he gets hurt. You have guys like that in the NBA who, have a lot of issues in college, don't really play a ton of basketball, really, but just what the small bits that you've seen, clearly he's got talent. So now you got to weigh: do you take a chance on the potential, or do you steer away? It's kind of a tough decision for a GM, but he'll get a shot somewhere, whether it's first round, second round. And he's a guy who probably will have to go into the right situation. If you just throw him into some, a place like that's still kind of finding their roots, like Orlando or something, I would not recommend team does that. But if he goes, like you said, to a team that's a little more structured, like the Spurs, that could work.
A team that will just make them like have like the right influences around.
Yeah.
There to look out for him and shit.
Like I would tell the league to look out if Greg Popovich gets his hands on him, because I think Popovich will straighten him out, and his talent, if he just lets his talent go to work, I think he could be a special player, Manny Bates.
And he could be a steal in the second round.
Absolutely. Could be a potential all-star. You get him in the second round. You almost never see that in the NBA.
Yeah, well, almost never.
The only guy I can really think of is the kid in Denver.
Yeah,
Jokic, yeah. Yeah, that's the basketball landscape. Patrick, you're a Detroit Tigers fan, right?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, they had a rough year. They made a front office change. I think they changed the coaching staff around AJ Hinch. think they may have made some small sign. Haven't done anything too big. They also spent so much last year. You gave all that money to Javier Baez, who had one of the worst years of his career. You gave all that money to Eduardo Rodriguez, who injuries, issues, wasn't that good. I mean, their pitching staff isn't great, but their offense last year was putrid.
Yeah, it's not going to be like, it's going to be multiple years until they're relevant again. That's going to be the hardest rebuild for Detroit sports right there.
Yeah.
The Reds are on the come up, and they might make the playoffs this year as like the last seed. The Lions are still in the playoff hunt and have like been really like exciting to watch for everyone. The Pistons, you give them the benefit of the doubt because it's a lost year without Cade.
Yeah.
But the Tigers, what the fuck?
Yeah, they are. 2 years ago, they looked like they were making progress, and then they went out, spent a lot of money, and people were saying they might make the playoffs, and then they went out and they took a big step back instead of forward, which I'm sure was not in there. I'm sure was not on the docket for the Detroit Tigers to.
Think about the guy from San Francisco, and he's just gonna be the president. He's gonna get his own GM. I don't know what that's gonna be.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, I'm not too sure either. You gave Baez $140 million. He went out and hit $230 last year. Eduardo Rodriguez made like 20 starts. And who else? Austin Miles didn't do anything last year. All the guys they brought in last year did nothing.
Yeah. I saw him win some games, but like against like other bottom feeders, it's a really bad division in baseball too.
Yeah. Yeah, they were in such a bad division too, and they still weren't even competitive.
No, not even close.
Yeah.
Like first division in baseball, they're gonna have like one of the highest picks.
Yeah. And that kid Spencer Torkelson, the jury is still out. He's still young, but he looked lost when he was out there last year.
Yeah, we needed more from him. He didn't really show much last year.
He really didn't. I mean, he's still young, but he didn't show anything. He hit like 190. At one point, like June, they sent him back to the minor. They were just like, this kid's horrible. This kid isn't ready. Guy was a #1 pick. People were raving about him, and that was a big disappointment. Still young, but very bad start for his career. He looked lost last year.
And Riley Green has been impressive.
I do like him. He looked pretty good. He was one of the lone bright spots last year. You got him to come up, and he did play pretty well. I thought his numbers weren't fantastic, but I do like Cody Clemens. Obviously, his father is Roger Clemens. I know his numbers didn't jump off the page, but I thought in spurts he showed some promise.
Yeah.
You have some young players. You have some young talent, and there's talent on the team, but they just did not execute last year. And it's mostly the same team coming back, which is also concerning. I was hoping they would grab some more bats, maybe some more depth to their pitching staff, but they really haven't done much with the Detroit Tigers.
Right.
Yeah, and I know actually that even like the Colorado Rockies, they just picked up Pierce Johnson, who had a decent last year, was hurt for most of the year, but he had a decent 3-year run in San Diego. Like they've made additions to the ballpark. Even they've made more moves than the Colorado Rockies have.
The Rockies, I think, I don't know what they're spending, if they're willing to spend or not, but people like living in Colorado.
Yeah, it's nice there.
Wouldn't see it deep for like the most impossible thing for the free agents.
Yeah, I don't know why they won't spend money. They, you know what you're dealing with in Coors Field. If the ball goes in the air, it's going to go 400 feet. Just get yourself a solid lineup and get yourself a really good pitching staff, and that team should be going to the playoffs because if you have a solo lineup of guys that can just get the ball in the air, the ball's gonna travel in course field, and it's just tough. I think it's tough to get pitchers to go there because if they make contact, the ball's going to go 300 feet.
Right.
It's no one's fault. It's just that's just Colorado for you.
And I think Harrison Comerica's kind of a little bit harder to hit a home run out. It's a medium-sized ballpark.
Yeah.
You guys play in a bigger ballpark than the Yankees. They play in the Little League field.
Oh my God, that field's ridiculous. It's a pretty decently looking stadium. There's a lot of cool history behind it. But if you're a left-hander, there's no reason you shouldn't hit. You should be getting 30 home runs a year if you're a left-hander in that ballpark. That fence in right field is ridiculously low.
Right.
Ridiculous.
New one.
What's that, Patrick?
Aren't they building a new Yankee City?
Not that I know of, no.
No. Oh no, they're building a new MLS stadium.
Yes, NYFC, whatever it's called. I don't really follow soccer, but yeah, they are building a new. The soccer team. They're getting their own stadium.
Maybe kind of close to where the Mets play.
Pretty sure it is. Yeah, it's I don't really follow soccer, but I've heard it's supposed to be a big deal for the New York MLS team. But yeah, don't really follow that. But yes, they are getting a new stadium pretty close to Citi Field.
Correct. So I have to go in about 5 minutes, but it's been a lot of fun.
That's cool. Yeah, we're on talking sports with Jake. We got. It's good to catch up, talk some sports.
What New York team are you most proud of?
Probably, honestly, I'm actually most proud of the Jets because they finally, while I like the Lions, they're finally building something. And they finally looks like they have the coach, Rob Saleh. I think the decision making still could use a little bit of work. And sometimes just overall, but he's done a lot of good things this year. They still have work to do, especially on offense, but they're finally building something. They have a lot of young players, and look like they're finally building something. Right. I'm also proud of what the Rangers are doing, but they're also off to not the greatest start. So they gotta be a little more consistent than the New York Rangers, which they are starting to do these last 2 weeks. So we'll see what happens. Yes, he started not fantastic. He was playing good, but not elite. But his last couple of weeks, he's definitely back. He's back to being elite. He's amazing. I would say the second best goalie in the league besides Vasilevsky. Vasilevsky's probably the best, especially in the playoffs. Vasilevsky might be the greatest postseason goalie ever. His numbers in the playoffs are not even. They look like something out of a video game. Right. So, Patrick, your Red Wings actually have looked pretty good this year.
That's been relieving. That's like the crown jewel of Detroit sports.
Yeah, the sports are rough there, but they're made a lot of moves in the offseason, and they're only like a couple of points behind the Islanders for that last spot in the playoffs. They're right there.
I think we could sneak in.
I think so too. I had them making it as a wild card this year in my preseason rankings. I don't see why not. You added a lot this offseason. Your young team is coming along. I think they brought in a new coach, and clearly it looks like it's working because last year they were able to score, but their defense and goaltending was awful.
Right. Now it looks a lot better.
Yeah, you brought in Huso, which is a really good move. Also, you had Nedjlovic, who you got in the trade, I think from. I forgot who you got him in the trade. Whoever gave him to was probably like, please take him. This kid can't play. And kids well up 7 goals every game, it felt like last year. And now you bring in a Huso. He's been a lot better. So, all right. So we both got teams that are very bad, but are turning the corner. Jets, Lions, Red Wings. Obviously, the Rangers were last year were in the Eastern Conference Finals, and we're hoping to get back this year, and maybe even go to the finals.
Yeah, the Rangers. Wings got mathematically eliminated. I wanted the Rangers to win out. Win the Stanley Cup when the Wings couldn't.
Nice, good to hear. Yeah, for a while, Detroit was like that last spot, and then they just couldn't. In the NHL, you can't win by giving them 5 goals every game. It just doesn't work, and they kind of fell off. And also, the East was loaded last year in hockey. I think the Capitals were the 8th seed. They had like 102 points. They were like the number 5 spot in the West.
I think the East is so loaded this year. Look at it.
Yeah, it's not much. You got Washington's they're off to a slow start, as is Florida. Rangers to an extent, but now they're starting to play better, and everyone else is playing well. Obviously, you got the Devils just came in out of nowhere. Boston's been even better than expected. Even the Islanders, who are struggling now, they've been even better. They've been still better than expected. By the way, great win for the Rangers last night. Coming back out 3-1 against the Devils, who look like they finally arrived. They have so much talent on the offensive side of the puck. They probably have 8-9 guys who are dangerous scorers on that team.
That's a dangerous team in all aspects.
Yeah, and the goaltending has held up. That was a team that had a lot of young talent, but we just weren't sure about the goaltending because Mackenzie Blackwood can't stay healthy. He's hurt again. And if you take Vanchek, last couple of years has been inconsistent, but Vanchek has come in and played well.
All right, I probably got to go, but this has been real. Feel free to stop by a happy hour sometime. Still from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday. But starting January 2nd, 2023, we'll be moving to Twitter Spaces.
All right.
All right.
For sure. Thanks for coming on, Patrick. If you guys are not doing anything at 5, jump on the Covercast app and catch Patrick. Patrick, thank you for coming on. It's been real. Come on anytime. You're always welcome.
Thank you.
Nope.
Have a good one. Go Lions.
You as well. Go Jets. That was Patrick. He's come on my show before. Hadn't in a while, but he came back. Let's talk about some hockey. You had your scores from last night. You had the Canadians over the Flames 2-1. Rangers over the Devils 4-3 in overtime. Rangers came back down 3-1 in that game. Filipino game winner in overtime. Penguins over the Stars 2-1. Senators over the Ducks 3-0. Wild over the Oilers 2-1, and Blues over the Predators 2-1 in overtime. Braden Shen with the game winner in that one. College basketball, you had last night. You had number 7 Texas over Rice, 87-81. Number 15 Gonzaga over Northern Illinois, 88-67. Those were the only games you had. For NBA action last night, you had the Heat over the Patriots, 87-82. Heat trying to find their footing. Bam Adebayo, 22.73 rebounds. Heat struggling. I've talked about it. Struggling on the road. They've lost to some bad teams. They were done Jimmy Butler, but you lose to Detroit. Didn't have Jimmy Butler, like I said, but so should have won that game. You lose to the Spurs, who are, I think, the worst team in the Western Conference, or second worst. We're able to beat Indiana, though, in a low-scoring game. Nets over the Wizards, 112-100. Of course, the game before, they had 7 players, and they were able to beat Indiana. And they beat the Wizards. Kevin Durant, 30 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists. Grizzlies beat the Hawks, down John Morant, 128-103. Tyus Jones, 22 points, 11 assists. He's been playing well. Memphis has some injuries. Jaw's been nicked up. He got Desmond Baines out like a month. And he stepped up. You got the Mavericks over the Thunder, 121-114. Luka, 38 points, 11 rebounds, 8 assists. That dude is insane. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 42 points to a loss. Shai's also going nuts this year. He's an MVP candidate for sure. Spurs over the Cavs, 112-111. Josh Richardson, 24 points. They got an upset there. Trailblazers over the Timberwolves, 130-112. Damian Lillard, 38 points. Minnesota looked a little bit messy. Got no Towns. I think they got some internal issues there. And Clippers over the Celtics, 113-93. Celtics was 2 in a row for the first time this year. Kawhi came back. Obviously, a lot of trouble getting healthy this year, coming off the injury. 25 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists in that one for Kawhi Leonard. Clippers pick up a win there. You had in the Army-Navy game, Army defeated Navy 20-17 in double overtime. Army was actually playing well this year. They were 6-6. So a lot of controversy over why they're not bowl eligible. Before I continue, I got some sad news. Mississippi State head coach Mike Leach, he was hospitalized over the last couple of days with a very serious heart condition, and he actually passed away today. Very, very sad. Rest in peace, Mike Leach. He was one of the smartest offensive minds in all football history. He revolutionized the air raid offense. He loves offense. He loved offense. He took his teams to 19 bowl games in 21 years. 19 out of 21 is obviously a great ratio. He had a lot of funny press conferences. He will be missed. He was a great college football coach. You got some bowl games coming up on Friday. You got UAB in Miami and then UTSA in Troy. Like I said, way too many bowl games in college football. They got to cut that down. Let's recap Week 14 in the NFL. We had the Rams over the Raiders, 17-16 in Baker Mayfield. He played most of that game. The 98-yard game-winning drive, played pretty well. What is Josh McDaniels doing? He's got to go. He's awful. Bills over the Jets 20-12. By my kudos to Mike White, playing through the ribs injury, came back after twice. Kudos to him. But the Bills were able to pick up the win there. They go with 10-3, just up to 7-6. Bengals over the Browns, 23-10. First career win over the Browns for Joe Burrow. Watson again struggled. Got Cowboys over the Packers, 27-23. Almost lost to Houston. Dak Prescott and the Cowboys were able to pull it out. Ezekiel Elliott had a 3-yard rush touchdown with about 20 seconds left to secure that win. Lions over the Vikings, 34-23. We were just talking about that with Patrick. Lions are looking good. Upset over the Vikings. Jared Goff played really well. Eagles thrashed the Giants, 48-22. They are 12-1 best team in the league. They're like Jalen Hurts. He might be the MVP of the league. He is going nuts this year. Breakout year for him. He's one of the best young quarterbacks in the game. Kudos to him for silencing all those doubters and having a huge year this year. Giants continue to struggle, up to 7-5-1. Ravens hang on to beat the Steelers. You had your third-string quarterback, Anthony Brown, play the last 61 snaps. They hang on and win 16-14. Ravens 9-4. Steelers are up to 5-8. Mr. Trubisky came in for injured Kenny Pickett and threw 3 picks. We had the Jaguars over the Titans, 36-22. Jaguars are playing well. Still alive. Titans up to 7-6. So 2 games ahead of Jacksonville in the South, but they're struggling. Jacksonville picks up another big win. Continue to put up a lot of points. Trevor Lawrence is coming along. Chiefs over the Broncos, 34-28. Russell Wilson got a concussion in that game. He played his best game of the year to this point. They came back after they're getting crushed at halftime, but Chiefs hang on to win that one. They got to get rid of Nathaniel Hackett. Russ has been horrible, but Hackett's just as bad. He's got to go. Panthers over the Seahawks, 30-24. Panthers all of a sudden are 1 game out of first because the Niners beat the Bucs 35-7. Brock Purdy, the Mr. L in this year's draft, outduels Tom Brady, had 3 touchdowns, played a really good game. Hopefully, he got nicked up the oblique, should be fine. I hope so because he played a really good game for the Niners. Kudos to him. Not 9-4. Bucs were 6-7 in first place. The Carolina Panthers are a freaking dumpster fire. They're on their interim head coach. They're on their 3rd quarterback. You already traded McCaffrey. You traded Robbie Anderson. They got nothing over there. They're 1 game out of first place. Got the Chargers beat the Dolphins on something like football 23-17. Herbert outduels Tua. Herbert's better than Tua. I'm telling you guys, Tua I think is a bit of a fraud. He's had pieces. You had the receivers, Tyreek Hill, and all the guys they had this year. But he definitely struggled. Herbert played a really good game. Chargers get to 7-6, dropped to 8-5. And Patriots over the Cardinals on Monday Night Football, 27-13. Patriots defense stepped up. And as feared, Colin hurt his knee. It's official. He has torn his ACL. He is out for the season. Arizona was already done at 4-9. Now they're definitely cooked. We're going to talk about Friday Night Smackdown from last week. You had Sami Zayn apparently has a big week in store. So backstage told him, Roman Reigns is coming back to SmackDown next week, and cut your hair, trim your beard, because it's going to be something big is coming for you. It seems like okie doke. Then we'll see what happens there. The Usos defeated the Brawling Brutes to retain their tag team titles. To open up was a great match. Also had Kurt Angle introduce Braun Strowman to Gable Stevenson. Braun Stevenson, you ever want to get these hands, just come by, and Gable was like, all right, I'll keep that in mind. You had LA Knight, he put in evidence that Bray Wyatt's alter ego was the reason he's been attacked the last 2 weeks, and then he ended up going backstage and looking for him, and he found Bray Wyatt, a shirt with Bray Wyatt's new creepy logo in his locker. Then lights went out. He turned on his phone flashlight, and then there was some creature with a mask on. So we'll see where that goes. Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler, they injured Shotzi in the parking lot. But then Liv Morgan and Tegan Knox, of course, came back last week, beat them in a women's tag team match. They were distracted by Raquel Rodriguez coming out to ringside. Legado del Fantasma with Cruz del Toro and Joaquin Wilde defeated the Viking Raiders. Technically, but it was by disqualification. Hit Row interfered and just cleared the ring. You had Ricochet and Menuda defeat Imperium in a 6-man tag match. Of course, you're going to have Ufer defending the Intercontinental Championship against Ricochet. You had a contract signing right before that. Karrion Kross threatened Rey Mysterio, saying that he basically said to put down the old horse. Told the whole story about Scarlett, his little girlfriend, whatever you want to call her. Like, she had a horse growing up, and eventually it just kind of fell apart, and they had to put it down. Basically told him, you're washed, you should retire, and then said TikTok and left. And you had Angle went out to the ring to celebrate his birthday. That's why he was there. And then Gable noticed the Alpha Academy, because they were pissed off they weren't invited to his birthday party. They started talking trash to him, told him to leave the ring. And they were eating his cake, and Kurt Angle says, you might want some milk. And then Gable Stevenson drives out the milk truck, and they were throwing milk at him. And then Kurt Angle did a flashback from way back when he sprayed milk on The Rock and all them, and did the same to the Alpha Academy. That was SmackDown. That's all I got for you guys today. Until next time, so long, and have a great day.